That's bombweb.com, guy. So one of the amazing things about interferometry, and I just talked about this in one video. The whole point of it, that one video where I talk about NSA/US space capability, just to discuss that that's what it is. It's one technology called interferometry. That's all what's up there. Interferometry is the best technology for remote sensing, scanning, surveillance. It's like a whole world MRI machine with multiple types of scans that they could do on people in their homes. And it's also a warfare technique because it lets energy be directed where you want it. So that's what it is. Well, and the patents describe it too, man. Robert Malik's patent from 1974. Dorn and Margolin how to remotely scan and alter the brain using a technique that's exactly the same as interferometry. It's the same. Oh, that's the cool thing. It's the same. And all scanning techniques are virtually the same. And remember, for people reading the patent, it's just the base structure of how it all works. And then you can, like a transistor, you can build up infinitely more complex systems using the same techniques to gain access to anything, to alter anything. And that's all it's describing there. It just describes the very minimum necessary to start doing the stuff that the military's doing. And it says military radar is the way it works, right at the bottom. And it says they could do all this crap to your brain and remote diagnose you and get access to the function of your brain functionally. Just as if the computer system that's going to be attached to it is like you. It's experiencing and going through all the signals you're going through that make your reality what it is. That's what it's about. And the altering of the brain is the same as like a radar jammer or something, or some type of electronic warfare where they're altering electronic component function remotely, but then it's a brain. It's the same fucking. So yeah, it's just amazing, you know? It's totally amazing. People out there are so stupid. It doesn't even have to be some big complex explanation. That's all you gotta focus on. It's interferometry. That's their one technique, and it does everything. And it works on the whole fucking planet. That's what the evidence is not hard to find. They teach this fucking shit at Virginia Tech, Harvard, MIT, and other fucking schools. It's not fucking hard to get information on what this shit's about or how it works. It's not secret. It's all over the fucking place. There's literature everywhere. But to get access to the best information, of course, you probably have to be enrolled in a school or working for the government. So if you're enrolled in a school, then you're getting the best books, the best, all the stuff they've got on it. It's not just, people have forgotten that the internet isn't one of those places that private companies and schools, they don't like to go and dump their information out there. And people who go and get educated, they don't like to just go out and explain all this stuff for free, okay? That's why you typically don't get the best information from the internet. You have to go and see an expert on it, or someone who went to school. And it's kind of pathetic. I've always hated the internet for that, because people actually like to read about it themselves, and they like to think about it themselves and self-interpret. They don't like to be told what something is. But people have forgotten that the internet doesn't really have the whole vast knowledge base it should. It's limited. There's censorship. There's people who make profit off this that don't want to tell you all this, and they don't want to waste their time and money to tell you for free either. So, and that's something the internet doesn't get. The internet doesn't get that that's what the internet is, and that's the problem holding the internet back from being a good resource for information. So, and I don't know, there are some online courses you can take on some of this stuff. I've seen some stuff. You might be able to learn about some of it. I don't know. Maybe go to MIT courseware or something. See if they've got anything on some of this. Well, what I've chosen to do is, one, I'm smart enough to know when an expert's talking, what they're saying is false, frivolous, true, accurate, and it's not very hard for me to figure it out, but the vast population have trouble with messages and filtering of information. Comprehension is low. So that's why I got to where I'm at, even with my brain damage. And that's why I made this video here, because I actually have severe amnesia. So I get tortured. I've been tortured so much. My amnesia is almost my entire life. My memories, one, the memory itself, while sometimes available, usually goes away and can't be retained very long. Then I have the problem with feeling swollen and beat up and fucking mutilated, okay? That's the way I feel all day long. And I'm trying to do all this fucking work, getting tortured and brought down like I'm being ran through an obstacle course, basically. Except the obstacle course is all invisible directed energy, holograms and beatings of my body that are happening to me, and yet I'm not getting any reward from it. You can't get through this obstacle course. It's just about torture and injury. It's like barbed wire, getting all wrapped up in it. That's not good. I'm taking a huge fall from a huge height, and all my injuries have been done in secret. That's what directed energy lets them do. Beat on your brain. Sit there with directed energy, a field of energy going like this. That's what it does. It goes up and down on your head, into your brain. It's all invisible. It beats you, fucking impinging your brain through your skull with fucking signals, and your brain's getting rattled. How is a person going to survive with that type of crap happening to them? The military's ultimate piece of shit weapon. Law enforcement's ultimate secret. Government officials' ultimate way of taking care of a problem to keep America secure and afloat in a global economy is this fucking shit. Letting us dominate other countries. My amnesia is bad because in 2007, I was able to go back and try to trace my own memory, how good it was. I had photographic memory, didn't forget nothing, but they also did memory erasure techniques with drugs too. And my psychologists and pharmacologists and psychopharmacologists, they will talk about how the drugs, they keep this information from the public, but the drugs have a nasty purpose as a weapon, a chemical agent to erase memories from people and incapacitate people. See, when you can actually tell just by looking at a mental institution that that's what they're using these drugs for, or a jail or something. It's where you see a group of thugs who work for the state, they're sheriffs or they're state employees, or they're stupid low-level techs or whoever they are with no training and no education, will go into a person's room or cell or something in these institutions, and it's all they do all night long. And then they got an injection of medication to give by force. You know why that is? To incapacitate the person and make them controllable and influenceable by the staff. To erase their own will and executive function and memories and stuff and just make them a vegetable. Because a vegetable is easy to manage, and so that's what you have going on in these mental institutions or prisons and jails. That's why they're using these drugs so much. Ronald Reagan, our president and previous California governor, called it a chemical lobotomy. He said, let's give everyone in jails and prisons and stuff chemical lobotomies. Because if you can damage the brain, you're going to end up with a person who probably ain't going to be sophisticated or capable enough to compete with the staff in the facility or at the state level, and they could just whoop the patient's ass or the cell or inmate's ass. No problem. So that's what the drugs are about. Making people stupid, crippling their ass, and then they just sit there like a willing participant eventually. Because all their cognitive processes get erased. And then eventually, the person ends up just permanently damaged so bad because it's just a downhill spiral. Boom. Till you hit rock bottom and you can't recover from it. You get off the drugs and you're all fucked out. You're tired of the dyskinesia and dystonia and memory don't come back. Or it's all screwed up. You got so many debilitating problems. I mean, my psychologist saw rooms full of fucking people in California because they did this back in the 80s, and he comes from out of the country, and he's a new psychologist, and he sees these rooms full of crippled people who are shitting their pants, and that was all done to them with excessive amounts of drugs mostly, and some shock therapy. All these are treatments designed to kill a person's brain and make them just a vegetable. Can't fight back, even when the fighting back was normal, because these are people who are oftentimes targeted of the state. Okay, people who are arrested, some cop hates them, or some top official just wants to get all these homeless people off the streets and put them into a mental institution where they could be controlled and profited off of. State employees want to make money by having job security, and it creates all these jobs, okay? There's jobs that come out of putting people in these places to destroy. And other countries are a little bit better. You know, we go to France. They try to avoid using drugs on people, and they have significantly less amount of their population diagnosed with a mental illness because they are identifying that people don't have these conditions. And that in America, they're selling these conditions for profit and mislabeling and using them as weapons, but not, you know, they identified that in France and said, no, we're not going to do that. This is all a psychosocial problem, you know, and drugs are bad, so we're not going to use them. And they have significantly less people diagnosed because of that. Because they see human rights is I guess human rights are more important. You know, they got universal health care and education and better welfare systems and stuff and better work programs. It's America doing this to people. This is a shit fucking country. The elite military people in this country, in the state employee unions and stuff, they get free reign. So he comes to America. He helped change this. He fought against it because he said it was just torture. What they were doing, nonsense and torture. There was no purpose to anything they were doing in these institutions that he saw. So he helped get some of it changed. Significantly reduced the amount of drug use, medications, in the hospitals he worked for. He was a senior psychologist at state hospitals, in county hospitals, and also he worked for Youth Authority as well. Well, here in Oregon, that type of problem, we had the same problem. The state hospital is the last remaining peg of it, and also the community-based extensions of the state hospital, which are the county systems and the pathetic group homes. They're all ran by people who it's like a circle of life. State hospital, community shit system. State hospital, community shit system. And they've been called out by people saying, hey, we don't have an adequate system in the state. 3 state hospitals were already shut down because they were exposed to just committing violent, crappy things, doing violent, crappy things to people. Torturing, killing, raping, covering up crime. The last remaining peg with the exact same atmosphere as those other 3 hospitals is the Oregon State Hospital. And everyone's familiar with it, made a lot of money off it over the years, getting people admitted there, seeing people locked up there, getting patients from there. You know, everyone in Oregon's connected to it in some way in the mental health profession. The hospitals will admit people there. They'll work to get, if you they'll threaten you. Hey, if you don't improve, I'm going to send you to the Oregon State Hospital. And a lot of abuse goes on. Okay, and also by the way, go to madamerica.com. You read about these druggings of people, and how all the long-term studies shows the druggings of people leading to worse outcomes, brain damage. All this is guaranteed. Worse outcomes, brain damage. Not a single study shows the drugs don't cause brain damage, and that you're better than people who don't get put on meds. So all the studies are against the meds, but they're still using them. That's a corrupt system, because all the science and all the studies have already showed that this is wrong and going on, and they need to change the system, but they won't. They just stick right there with the medication bullshit. And so, okay, so let's back to the memory erasal techniques. Yeah, they have memory erasal techniques with these drugs. You'll end up with memory loss and amnesia. You will never be able to recover. They're fucking people up. People could start off really healthy and strong, and then their mind just falls apart after the drugs are administered. Just like in the old MK Ultra days, you could take a healthy person who passed all his psych evals and worked for the military and stuff, and give him some fucking LSD or something, some psych drugs, and experience a bad trip, and then he's practically mentally ill after that, with what appears to be schizophrenia or some type of severe traumatic disorder, can't stop crying. What the fuck? So this is what they're doing to people. They're inducing all these problems. When a person loses their control over their own brain, it's the drugs. Unravels the mind. Well, and I saw that in a documentary on MK Ultra from ABC. There was a soldier who was normal and then not normal, and they tried to use the drugs operationally on their own people for interrogation. And they destroyed, just like the mental patients they tested on and the civilians they tested on. And they weren't just testing, they were abusing these substances and drugs and abusing real life people. And very valuable to use a human subject instead of a monkey or a rat. And they did what they wanted to people. And that's never really stopped. Because everything that I've witnessed is that the institutions are still doing that. And they haven't changed. And there's no strong civil rights. There's no human rights in America at all. So my memory loss started with the administration of these damn drugs. And my psychologist told me, yeah, man, when I was trained to be a neuropsychologist, yeah, we learned about some of this stuff. So yeah, they would give you these drugs to erase your memories. That's why these doctors did that to you. That's the whole purpose. They were giving you the drugs to hurt you and fuck you up and make you less credible as a witness. That's what they did to me. And how it all started off was I get into the place, they don't even have anything but a drugging program. Nothing. And they chronically beat people up, and they go into their rooms and they administer shots of drugs, and they do nothing else but drugs all day long. PRNs. Blah, blah, blah. You start off with one drug, you end up on 10 drugs. That's all these stupid doctors are doing. And that's not an exaggeration. This happens to people in the community too. Because the drugs, they start off with one that causes destabilization in both kids and adults, and boom, you're on 4 or 5 or more drugs. And one drug to manage it and tranquilize this, shut this down, blah, blah, blah. And you just keep getting sicker and sicker. You never really improve or feel better. And you're totally taken out of life. And they're doing this like clockwork to every single person. Everyone. You can't shut it down. Because our government is invested in this. And there's also policymakers who have, stockholdership in some of the companies, so they get some of the money back from this. So they write a policy that says everyone's going to be given drugs, and then the policymakers are getting money from that. And millions, and they're also getting kickbacks in the form of donations and other bullshit. everyone's highly invested in this crap in America. And so then later on, I'm getting the directed energy stuff, and they're beating my brain. And so stuff I used to be able to do, just gone. Facts and daily, what happened day to day when I was getting abused, gone. They wiped it out of my brain. I only have a brief kind of summary of it now. And then where I used to remember every single name of every person, I was friends with, different stuff I came into contact with, all gone. I don't remember anyone's name. Now it's hard to remember names. I can't remember a person's name I come into contact with usually. Past a few seconds, that's how bad it is. I have a severe TBI. And memories of my childhood gone, memories of my daily occurrences gone. They're wiping my brain. They keep doing it over and over. And they've done this before. In MK Ultra, they did this to people, where they did this extensive, elaborate shock treatment, keeping people kind of locked into a facility, where they did called the de-patterning and reprogramming, and they would give you like a cocktail of drugs to keep you asleep for months. Okay, and if you woke up and tried to escape because you probably wanted to, they would beat your ass down and drug you and put you back where you were. You couldn't get free. You were a prisoner. And then they would give you excessive amounts of shock therapy and wipe your brain back to nothing. You wouldn't remember nothing about yourself. Except, like, you'd be able to verbalize. They describe it. You could verbalize just basic things about what you were seeing. So you wouldn't remember nothing about yourself, but you kind of have, like, some language intact, but it was mostly about what was in your current environment, what you were seeing. And everything you were told is all you'd remember, because then you could be programmed and you'd remember only what you were told about yourself. So they could tell you different things, reconstruct your personality, reprogram you. And it was the victims of this would have severe memory loss about everything that they were formerly. Even, after some of them almost snapped out of it, became aware of what was going on, trying to recover, they could never recover. They're permanently brain damaged. And that's exactly what I went through, except it was way worse, because they had more capability. They had more than drugs. I mean, they had the shock therapy would probably be pretty damn bad, because you're getting jolted. You're having your whole brain like an EMP blast. And you're getting scar tissue, and you're getting lobotomized from the shock therapy, and you're getting concussions, and you keep having to heal, because you got to heal after that, because you're hurt, you're damaged, your structure's destroyed. So people got mutilated by that stuff. I think what I went through was way worse though. 7 years of this shit. 7 to 10 years. The first 3 years were drugging and abuse. 7 years afterward, combo of either drugs, or sometimes drugs, and then mostly radiation stuff. And everyone in society is a failure, because this information is so available. One on psychiatry, one on what the state's doing, more information on surveillance and their capabilities. It's been out there. So for people, what we've seen is people will not rise up, and they're chicken shit compared to government. And the government has so much more money and power, they can't be shut down. And there's nobody with any type of skills to go up against them. Everyone else is living a life like they're a delusional, like sheep that can't piece anything together. And so everyone else is on the side of, so the few people that aren't involved in this, general members of society, are just stupid ass. And the people with power, like the attorneys and stuff, and mostly the attorneys, because all the police, the attorney general, district attorneys, all those people, U.S. attorneys, blah, 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 union members, employees in government, they're all involved. But the people, like, I don't know, like, who are, so who does that leave for you to get help from? That's the question that arises. And the people that are left are just stupid ass. And if you look in history, there's never been a single time where anybody, either as a victim or individual, has generally been able to do anything about any abuse they ever went through. And the institutions kept on running, the government kept on running. It took the government coming out to do anything about it ever. So if the government's all against all the victims, then you're fucked. That's what I learned. Or you're a millionaire and you got the money to spend on a huge team of, a big investigation and getting everyone together in the same room, getting together all the proof. If you don't got the millions of dollars to fund that, you're fucked. And at most places you go to for help, I mean, they're going to fuck you up and turn you down and fail you over and over and over and over and over and over and over. You'll go through 10 public defenders and not a single one even did an investigation, even when you got your own psychologist. You got your own psychologist backing you as a victim. You've got all this evidence and stuff. You got whistleblowers or employees who come to you and say this is going on and where to find information to prove it all. These dumb public defenders still can't figure it out. Public defenders, man, they're fucking worthless. Even when you decide to pay one of these crappy defense lawyers, they'll still fuck up. You pay them $15,000 to represent you and expect a case to get built? You can't expect shit. So now if I do think it would work if you walked in with $1 million and you had the money to fund all these hours and hours of work, then you probably get somewhere. And but it won't work any other way. That's what I've learned. I really do have amnesia bad, man. I hurt bad. I feel like a grenade had went off near my head. Boom. It hurts. I feel the stiffness and the tightness in my ears and the tissue. It hurts. The malfunctions, the fuzzy vision, the little static, the fucking, oh god, sound hurts, light hurts. Thinking and trying, just sitting here all the time just hurts. Everything hurts when you get this badly damaged. Not just brain damage, physical damage has happened too. Radiation isn't good for your body, that's what I know. Neither are drugs. It can completely paralyze all the internal workings. All your muscle. See, what is tardive dyskinesia? It's in tardive dystonia and all this stuff. And there's more conditions too, there's so many tardive conditions, it's not funny, because every type of brain damage, every neurological problem can be induced. So, and that's, they expanded on this. First of all, in the 50s, they knew about this. They talked about tardive dystonia, Parkinsonism, tardive dyskinesia, and all part of psychosis was in the literature, different stuff. And then they just tried to cover that shit up. I remember going back and looking at some early advertisements for drugs, and they tried to hide most of this stuff. The side effects they used to put on there were not listed anymore. Then they made a reoccurrence after a few years, and doctors are now talking more about this. In fact, the DSM-5 finally mentioned some of this shit. So well, anyway, they have known about these problems. And so you have this loss of control of your own nervous system, your muscles, your body, your brain. That's what the drugs do. They just completely cripple you. And tardive means that basically it's a permanent condition, and it's generally accumulation of damage from drugs. That's what it means. Could be slow to onset because it takes a little bit of time to get the worst damage. So you're just going downhill. So they say it's slow to onset because it can take a couple of months, a year, and most people got some symptoms after a year, despite what doctors say. and try to withdraw from your drug. You'll be vomiting like crazy. This is just about the drugs. You'll be vomiting like crazy, can't sleep. It's all the withdrawal symptoms and the damage that occurred. And a lot of sick feelings that don't go away. There could be a lot of excessive tearfulness, emotionalness, and you'll be so unable to come out of it because you need an extensive amount of neural rehab, and people don't get that. They don't get no rehab, so they don't get the opportunity to even see how fucked up they are, and to try to regain their own emotions and try to regain their capabilities. They don't. So most people just sit there with their illnesses, get redrugged, and a doctor doesn't know what else to do because they're stupid asses who don't want to be responsible for their drugs and the damage that they cause. My friend Justin, I've had this happen to multiple friends. Okay, so David Zapian's the latest friend who went through this. It started off as just a legal strategy, and then to get through the mental health system versus the criminal justice system, and he got fucked by it. They fucked him and tortured him and abused him and drugged him for no reason. But guess what? Now he's lucky. He did something that most would be afraid to do. He escaped to another place, a country, different country, and got a psychiatrist there. He was totally off the drugs, and now he was able to withdraw. Okay, and while he had the symptoms of vomiting and different crap that wouldn't go away. And he had some other problems. He was, at least in the last 6 or 8 months that he's been free from it, he's improved. And his mind, you can clearly tell he's just automatic boost in IQ and intelligence. Luckily, he only had to do about a year or 2 years of it. So with him, it wasn't no like 5-year stint where you can't really recover from. Because I've seen people like that too. I've seen people with like eyeballs that are tight looking and dry, muscles that are all like tight and different stuff. I look at him and I'm like, holy shit, this person was given severe tardive dyskinesia and dystonia, dude. I'm just like, I've seen them in a couple of meetings, and I feel sorry for them. And I see these people all over. Every once in a while, when these guys gets on the bus, I look at him and I just see how wasted he is off the drugs. The meds do it too, because I've seen people before they get put on the drugs and how much healthier they are. Even with the mental health problems, they're still more emotionally insightful. They speak better. You can connect to them emotionally better.